Hey there, folks, and welcome to Trek Tonight. This is episode 6. We're going to be talking about the third episode. That's kind of confusing, but we had preseason episodes. We're going to reconnect Ghosts of
Illyria.
Illyria. There we go. I'm your host, Chris Pitcher. Also, Leo Janicek is my co-host, and our special guest below us is Craig Lubin. Hey, Craig, how you doing? Are you Chef of the Future tonight?
Doing all right. I'm sitting here, obviously, on my shuttlecraft, and
Yes,
exactly.
Yes.
Undisclosed.
Are you on a mission right now, Commander Lubin?
Yes, I am. It is a mission that's been given to me by the commander of our household. So I'm engaged.
Yes, the Commodore.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes. Outright.
Yeah, we listen. First of all, I want to say I don't really fully understand what this amounts to, but we had a load of views for last week's episode, and I want to thank everyone that stopped in and gave our show a shot. We really appreciate it. And I would say one of the things that helps our program is for you guys not just to watch it, which is awesome, but to also like our Facebook page and our YouTube. That does help the program. As I said, tonight we're going to do a few things. One of the things we thought would be fun would be, I have a lot of stuff in the background here in my set that things, and I thought perhaps maybe we'd look at one of those. And Leo has something that he's dragged out of the archives that is a collectible for him. And that's kind of fun. And then we're also going to dive right in and talk about the episode. It was a lot of fun. A good episode, I thought.
I quite enjoyed it. It felt very like I've said, I feel like they're taking the spirit of TOS. It's a very TOS style mission.
Very much so.
But with a lot more, like a more sophistication than the old show. Which is not to say the old show was unsophisticated, but it was network TV in the late 1960s, which kind of had to fit in a box, whereas this is a streaming show in the year 2022, so they can appeal to a broader audience.
Exactly. Leo, do you want to show off the thing you dragged out of?
Yes, let's take a look. We're having some broadcast things. I'm going to put up. This is the Starfleet Medical Reference Manual, which, and I've bookmarked a couple of pages, and I hope that you can see what an Andorian's let's see, that's sort of and you can notice that if you freeze frame on that, an Andorian has a mole gland, whatever that is.
Okay,
I'm not a doctor. If you want to see, this is another. There's some actual medical stuff. They show how to do CPR, and I mean, I wouldn't necessarily use this as gospel, but also if you ever want to know what a Danubian slime devil looked like.
What?
Oh, neat.
What do you mean? I used that in college. No problem.
We had a few professors like that, I think.
Yes. So I'm afraid they're not coming off as well on the view screen I'm assuming the Starfleet is blocking any classified information. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, maybe we can post a couple of screen grabs on the Facebook page. If that's not a copyright issue, but I don't think it is. It might be interesting to see.
It was published in the 1970s by it says copyright 1977 Paramount Pictures Corporation, published by Starfleet Productions, Inc. And it has an ISBN number. So there's a lot of these books that were published that were not widely distributed. They were, I don't want to call it vanity press, but it was for a very select audience. You wouldn't find this in the Barnes and Noble back then, or even a Barnes and Noble maybe back then. I'm not sure when they first started, but
is this the same guys that did the Starfleet Technical Manual?
It looks like some of the illustrations inside look like they were lifted from the technical manual, especially the gear pictures. But it has a very, very evening, gents. Thank you, Craig Robinson.
Craig Robinson says, "Evening, gents. Good to see you, Craig."
From right across the pond. So yeah, it definitely has a Star Trek technical manual vibe to it.
Right.
Whether it was done by the same people or not, I can't say. Typical sci-fi trope. This is from Eric.
Eric, sorry, Eric. Typical sci-fi trope that all ships should have internal space minimized, so everything is crammed together. How does Pike and Number One get such palatial quarters? Ha ha ha.
Well, they have flushed those tropes out the airlock clearly.
Yes.
And
I actually, so that's true for our ships, but even if you look at the size of a ship in the original of Star Trek, you pull the old specs, there's a lot of room in there. I mean, probably not enough to have your own fireplace, to be honest, but there's enough to have a little deck there and stuff. So it's a scaling issue.
If you go back to the Cage, the original pilot, and I'm not sure why they changed this, but Captain Pike did have a much larger quarters than Captain Kirk did.
He had, and that television alone was amazing.
Yeah, he had it. It was circular in a way, and it had a television in it. And
it was a console situation. Very late 60s, mid-century design.
Yeah, it was very mid-century. Very mid-century.
But
now Eric's concerned about me because I'm wearing a red shirt. But I will tell you, this is an engineering shirt. Okay. So I think I'm safe for the rest of the episode, but you never know. If all of a sudden somebody, a great blob creature comes in, I might be gone. So
well we have contingency plans if that happens.
I just wanted, contingency. I just wanted to shake it up a little bit because I'm always wearing. Hey, Angela. Angela says we're all worried. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm wearing my Pike leather jacket. So
good for you. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you have the patch on the. We need to get the patch.
I need the patch.
Before we even start, I want.
Well, I can jump on a horse, but I don't think I'd be able to.
Well, like Captain Pike, you have horses, correct?
Yeah.
I do.
Hey, Craig, tell the audience a little bit.
Yes, I could jump on a horse right now, but I would lose.
I know you do have more. You do own horses. Craig, tell the audience before we get started in this stuff. What's your background? You're a software engineer, correct?
I'm a software engineer. I do mostly high-end data visualization stuff. A lot of data scientists. So visualizing weird data sets, doing Star Trek-ish stuff on the looking at traffic flow, that type of thing.
Right. And whenever Leo is writing a story and it has a technical issue in it and he wants to double check it, who does he call? He calls Craig.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm like, how does that
work? I got a degree in physics, which I use now to validate science fiction stories and Star Trek stories.
Good for you.
Which also allows me to be completely driven crazy by the physics in both those franchises.
Yes. And it's amazing that your knowledge of that does not ruin all science fiction for you whatsoever. But we'll let that alone.
I have to turn my brain off. There are a couple of
still able to suspend your disbelief.
There are a couple things. There are a couple things in this episode that they did that made me want to, drink some more. But keep it all inside.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to show you my little bring and brag, and this is something that, as a kid, I don't know how many of you out there around my age had the Mego Star Trek dolls, and I loved them. They were between that and my G.I. Joes, they were like my favorite thing. But the thing that always bothered me was the, what is this? There's a creature. Am I getting attacked? I'm getting attacked, guys.
No.
Green blob.
What's going on?
I made it. Okay, guys. Anyway, made it through.
Yes.
I love the Mego dolls, but the curse of the red shirt. There it is. Why you? At any rate, I love the dolls, but I hated the Star Trek bridge playset, even though it had that cool spinny thing that would make people beam up and beam down. The inside of it looked like, the Barbie Dream Bridge, as far as I was concerned. Didn't have any real design that looked like the bridge. And all these years afterwards, I'm going to make one. But, never had the time or the intelligence or anything else to do that. But when the pandemic hit, I had nothing else to do when I was in lockdown. And I started building this. And I realized, guys, this is a work in progress. So it is not completed. But I'm going to show you this. Hopefully this plays right. This is my 1/8 scale for the Enterprise. I built it out of scale lumber. I did it actually not just to build the bridge, but to build it and go it. So it's modular. That's good. And it just made out of right time. At scale lumber as the top. And some of the other pieces like air.
We're having a trouble hearing you, Chris. I think
you're having trouble hearing me?
Yeah, I think the warp engine on that.
Oh, you know why? I'll tell you why. Yeah. You know why? Because I filmed it and didn't realize I had the air conditioning on.
There you go. Well, that's very impressive.
Angela, thank you very much. Yes, and I can turn the red alert light off and on. It does itself separately. So my idea eventually is to have a little control panel that will do all of those things. Right now they're just all wired together. But so that's my thing, and that always sits back there. There's I didn't get to it because the sound was annoying, and I don't know how to turn the sound off for that. But I do have you can see it there all the way in the background. You can see there is Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in their usual pose, and Scotty off by the turbo lift. So at any rate. Thank you. Time well spent. Yeah, it was fun. And again, like I said, it was a great pandemic thing to do. And because at the time I started it, I was able to sit outdoors, and I sat out on my back patio, and I had my cutting mat, and I had all my balsa wood and my stuff. And I would just sit at the table, get up in the morning, have my coffee, and start doing it. But I cut all those pieces by hand. So that was kind of fun. And now I have a machine that will cut them for me. So I haven't tried that yet, but
that should be ready next week. Yeah. Right?
Hey, yes. So then, because the machine cuts them, the whole bridge will be done in a week. Yeah. No, it won't be. But all right, guys, shall we? Oh, one last thing. And I feel bad because he's not here, but we have a new little feature that we're going to do every week. And I have a feeling I know somebody who may win this week. But we call it Fan of the Week or Hunter of the Week. And last week, that is the person who gave us the most wonderful comments and insights into the show. And last week, that was Keith Jacobson, right? That's his last name.
Yes, Keith Jacobson, friend of the show, friend of ours.
Yes, he won. He wins the Fan of the Week from last week. And the Fan of the Week is brought to you by Emerald Knights. Emerald Knights body lotion. Whether you're an Orion trader or an alluring slave girl, keep your skin its most verdant with Emerald Knights. Available in the 16-ounce travel tube or the economy 1-gallon tub. So look for that at your local replicator. But yes, that. And we are going to have next week, the first of our merch. We're going to have just cute little pins. And we're going to try to send that out to our friend Keith, who also is a Patreon supporter.
Yes.
So love him for that. He was the first one. All righty. Do we want to leap into the show, guys?
Yes.
We're already 15 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about the show. I have my breakdown notes here, and we'll try to just do a few and then talk and do a few and then talk.
Okay.
Let's see. Where did you go? Oh, here it is. So as we open on the episode, we see them approaching. And again, you've got a log, but it's not from the captain. This was Una's log, correct?
Yes, first officer's log.
Right, first officer's log, which I think is kind of neat that they give everybody a chance to see their logs, which I think is kind of cool. Hang on one second before we go on. Can I get that cream at my local space? Yes, you can.
I'd be surprised if you couldn't.
I'm not sure if that's another Mudco Enterprises product or
it sounds like it.
It sounds like it to me, yeah. Anyway, so on the planet, there's this ion storm that's closing in on them as they go to explore this. And this planet was an Illyrian outpost. And we learned that the Illyrians were a race of people who did genetic augmentation, and therefore Starfleet has a bias against that because of everything that happened with Khan and the augments on Earth. And so they can't get admitted to the Federation if they really want to. So I'm not really sure why they're investigating this particular outpost. I guess
it's abandoned and they don't know what happened.
Right.
So I think they're investigating just out of curiosity.
Right. Yeah. So they go down there, and then the storm starts to get bad, and they realize they're going to need to leave. And so they're having difficulty with the transporter, but they're able to get most of the landing party up, and Pike and Spock are elsewhere, and they're going to round people up and send them places. And by the time they get around to Kirk and Spock, the storm is so bad.
Spock. I know you said Kirk and Spock.
Did I say Kirk and Spock?
Yeah, I know it's hard. When I was making my notes.
Okay, so there you go. Yeah. No, Pike.
Hard.
Pike. Sorry. At any rate, they can't get them to beam up. Now let's talk a little bit about this opening, because then we go to the opening credits.
Yes.
What did you guys think, Craig? What did you think of the opening?
I enjoyed it. I just thought that the ion storm was obviously a little too close for comfort.
Right.
I know it was done for dramatic effect, but it's like, I think I might have cleared the crew out, maybe an hour before that or something.
Yeah, well, possibly, yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was executed well.
Great.
Yeah, it's like, gee, that's a little close. Well, it's literally on top of us. Time to
yeah.
But I thought the having the power redirection sequence done in a visual manner, so you actually saw Hammer doing his thing, was actually pretty cool. That's something we never saw on the original show, obviously, or even on, I'd say, some of the newer shows. I think the closest they came to doing things like that was on one episode, Discovery, but this was executed better, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Cool. Leo, what are your thoughts?
I liked it. It's a classic split the party situation. Somebody's vital people are stuck on the planet and they can't beam up. First, I'm going to say I want one of those jackets that they will wear.
Yeah.
The coolest jackets ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully.
If they're not planning on making them, that's a huge mistake, because I've been seeing ever since photos of this episode have surfaced early, like in promotion, everybody's saying, I want that jacket, and count me in that, put me in that group. And I think the rest of you feel the same way.
Yeah.
I liked it. There was the drama of beaming up. There's always that, like, well, the old Joe would be like, Scotty, right now.
Right.
I liked Hammer's sort of like, I'm a G, he's like, he's so self-assured.
Yeah.
In a wonderfully, like, both irritating but sort of like entertaining way. He's like,
I agree.
I'm a genius.
Yeah, I agree.
But I liked Spock and Pike being stuck on the planet, and Spock investigating, reading these weird, like, digital scrolls. That's the best way I could describe
that was cool technology, I thought.
It was a library. Library. I think I was on an earlier show. They were mentioning that too. It's a library, almost as famous as the court scene.
Yeah, it's a big thing. But I think they did it. They set up high stakes right away. What's going on, and you're off to the races. So
and the ion storm was great to me, as a plot device, because you think of Mirror Mirror.
Yeah.
So you already know the ion storm from original Trek. The ion storm really messes with things and messes with the transporter.
Yeah.
So it's no shocker to us to come across that.
And as we find out, communications.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So we come back from the opening credits. Una returns to the ship, as does the rest of that landing party has come back. She's on the bridge, and I sort of love the way this was done, because she's sitting there saying, okay, we can't get the captain back, but everybody, until we do, just needs to do their jobs.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but there was just something I liked about that, in the sense that, in every iteration of Star Trek, there is a point where maybe the captain's not there, and nobody ever seems to have that attitude. Like, the crew might be thinking, oh, well, we don't have the captain here, and that's a loss. And I just like the pep talk for some reason. I don't know why it resonated.
I did. I like that too.
Yeah.
I like that she was sitting on the bridge with the jacket.
Right.
We're back to that jacket. I love that jacket.
Right.
And she tells O'Hara to try to get in contact, and she's like, yeah, this storm is really messing against you. So, well, just keep trying. Let me know when you do. So, which next on your list?
Well, it's interesting. Oh, you know what? I did want to. The one thing that was in my notes, and Craig makes a funny joke, but he says, I thought that Lance guy was going to be the new Mud. He looked super shifty. I did want to bring up that moment. I mean,
he did.
Yeah, but what do you think the significance was of him looking at the bottles? Is that where the illness came from somehow?
It might have been. It might have been.
Clearly was meant to tell us something, and
I agree with what Craig said, because I thought for a second he drank some of those vials or something like that at first, because he's looking kind of shifty. Like I said, Craig hit it on the head, and I'm like, did you drink all those? Are you is that the way you roll?
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm gonna score some space shit. Here we go.
Yeah.
I don't think he was I didn't think he was shifty, but he seemed to be like kind of a bit green. He's an ensign. He's like he's a young officer. And
Ensign Lance, that was his name.
Ensign Lance. He looks a little like what's his name? Guy who played Paul Atreides in Dune, in the last Dune film.
Oh yeah.
But sort of like, and no disrespect to this actor who I'm jealous of because he is on Star Trek, but he does feel like why can't I remember this actor's name? Because I'm old. I have a great. But he looks sort of like the like, well, we can't get that guy, so we'll get this guy.
Right. Well, Eric Cutts says that he originally thought it was the same actor that played Loki.
I'm sure the actor that played Loki wishes he was that young again.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
He did have a slightly Hiddleston quality. That name I remember.
There you go.
And there was a sequence too when Ensign Lance was starting to take his clothes off for his impromptu sunscreen later on.
Timothy Chalamet, yes.
That's it. That's it.
Thank you. He was the
thank you very much.
He's the 99-cent store Timothy Chalamet.
Right.
I say that, but I'm still jealous of the life he leads because he has been on Star Trek and I have not.
There you go.
So no offense to that actor.
Yes. So all right. So moving along. So then you cut to this scene where, and this is what some people have said makes them think of The Naked Time. You see Ortega is walking along, and he sees Lance half dressed in the hallway, staring at this light panel.
Yeah,
and this is the first time we see any indication that anybody's got a problem. And he ends up smashing his face into the, into the panel in order to get closer to the light that's inside. Yeah. Excuse me. And she shouts for security. So we've learned now that the landing party seems to be obsessed with the light to the point that they'll hurt themselves to get to it. And we see Una in her quarters, and she starts to look at a glowing orb or something like that. But then all of a sudden, it's like she gets really hot, rips the tunic, and
she's also glowing, like she's like
she glows, right? Like the the Human Torch,
Yeah.
At first, I was like, "Is she a Cylon?" Just for 1 second, my
So,
brief.
No, that's just the spine, Craig, and that happens at a certain time.
yeah.
That we won't.
Yes, that's true.
More of an extremis sort of moment from
Yeah.
Iron Man 3.
Although I've got to say, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but the first time I watched this episode through, there's something about the way I guess the pleats in the jacket, she all of a sudden was like all nipples. Did you notice that? Like in that moment?
I will have to go back.
Wait, what are they showing us, man? This is crazy.
The tunics aren't cut just like a full piece like yours is. There's like different panels to it that sort of, I would say, put it a little, give it a little more tailored look.
Yeah.
But I watched the episode a third time now.
It was, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm an old, dirty old man. But
it's
odd.
You're not the first. You won't be the last.
Yeah.
But she does all that, and then she calls Mabenga, and she's like, "Is there anything going on with the landing party?" He's like, "Well, funny you should mention it. A bunch of these guys have come down, and they're all something's going on." She's like, "I'll be." How do you? She goes, "Well, I'm fine." Slightly unconvincingly. And she says, "Well, I'd feel better if I could just, give you check you out." And she's like, "All right, I'll be right there." And she's looking at herself because she's definitely something's going on, but you don't vocalize those things to yourself when you're alone. You just think about it. So she goes down. Is the next scene in the sick bay? I don't want to get.
I have it with Hemmer.
Oh, Hemmer, yeah.
Because she goes down to talk to him, and he just seems. I want to bring this up because, she's saying, "Well, how did this illness get on board the ship? Shouldn't the transporters have filtered it out?" And he just seems as though he doesn't know because everything should work perfectly fine.
Yeah, he says, and he's like, "Could it be this?" He's like, "No, because everything is triple backed up," and he explains all the technical reasons why it couldn't happen. He says, "What if it was something we haven't heard of?" He's like, "It doesn't matter. If they don't recognize it, if it's something new, they will filter it out."
Right.
And she's like, he says, "I could run a level 5 diagnostic if that would, make you feel better.
But it will take all night."
It will take all night.
He's
super salty with her about that. Yeah. And she's just as salty.
Nope. That's a typical engineering response when giving tasks you don't want to do.
Yeah.
I want to let you know how much it's going to hurt.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Let's see in my notes. Where was I now? They're talking about people having when she goes down to see Mabenga, they're talking about people having a vitamin D deficiency.
Right.
And Liane shows up in sickbay with that same thing. So now they realize it's not just the landing party.
No, they actually, because she's doing research.
Right.
Number one is doing research in that ready room.
Right.
And she's looking into Illyrian sort of medical science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes in, they start talking, and she's like, "Listen, weird stuff's going on. Keep an eye out." This is before everything sort of goes pear-shaped. And they start talking, and they also are talking about the augments. And it's established firmly that she is a descendant of Khan Noonien Singh.
Yes, we get that.
And we find out that she had a tough childhood. She got picked on, a lot of hateful comments thrown her way. Right. And then she puts her hand on a panel which has got light, and then she turns up this lamp. She's like, "Is this? It's awfully dark in here, dude." And she's like, and number one is like, "God damn it!"
Yeah.
She brings her down to sick bay, and they check her out.
Right.
And so it's beginning to spread, and they're like, and both Chapel and Benga are like, "We don't know, like there's no pathogens, there's nothing.
Right.
We tested everything, and we checked you out. There's no reason why, there's no way this can be spreading, and yet it is."
Right.
So let me check my notes. I tried. My notes are way too long and way too detailed, but let me. They have a brief contact with Pike from the surface, but it goes out quickly, And that's where she's like, listen, we think we brought something back with us. And he's like, what's going on? And then it's over.
Right.
Okay, so they decide this disease is spreading, and she's back in sick bay. And she's like, all right, I think we should go to lockdown. So they put the ship in lockdown. So anybody non-essential personnel confined to quarters. If you're essential, stay at your station. You see people, everybody's like, that's a big deal, when everything gets locked down like that.
Right.
So, things are escalating on the Enterprise. Now, back on the planet, Spock and Pike Pike is pacing, and good old Spock tries to use a human metaphor about a watch kettle does not boil, and Pike says, "Well, it's a pot, actually."
Yeah.
And Pike is very frustrated. He's like, I believe you're attempting to mix metaphors to support your anxiety, and he's not wrong. But Spock is reading these, digital scrolls, trying to find out that there was a disease. The disease had broken out on this planet, and so they're trying to find out what's going on. They don't know yet.
Well, and he also discovers that this particular colony of Illyrians really wanted to join the Federation.
Yes.
And as a result of that, they were trying to reverse their genetic engineering in order to be accepted into the Federation because of the Federation regulation on it, which I thought was interesting.
It was. It's interesting to see like what a species would do to join the Federation, a more capable species.
And it also showed a particular interesting bias on the Federation's part. I mean,
that is explored very much as the episode goes on.
Yeah.
The Illyrians, just as a note, first appeared on screen in an episode of Enterprise called Damages, and the establishing the idea of them having genetic augmentation. But they were first introduced, and let me see if I can find that, in a book called Vulcan Glory, written by the original series, D.C. Fontana, one of the great writers of the original shows.
Oh,
she established number one was an Illyrian, and they also appeared in a number of other books. But in the books, being an Illyrian was not the same sort of heavyweight thing it is in the show now.
Right.
So the genetic.
Right. Yeah.
So they've been trying to get established that number one is an Illyrian since 1987, and it's finally canon.
Oh my God!
There you go.
Sadly, not that there's been a lot written about number one up till now. So.
No, she did appear in a few books, I think.
She did, and also in a series written and illustrated by John Byrne.
Cool.
So, although beautiful art, and he did a lot of really cool Star Trek comics for those of you who are interested in going back there.
He also did a Gary Seven comic.
Yes, he did a Gary Seven comic.
Yeah, right.
Where Dr. McCoy sort of becomes like a Doctors Without Borders. He's running around in a small shuttlecraft or ship with this young pilot, and he picks up this Andorian girl along the way, and they're sort of like traveling different planets, bringing some frontier medicine to the edges of the galaxy.
Traveling across the galaxy, helping people.
Exactly. So anyway, so back to the show, and
where are we here now? So we have the wait, I don't want to jump ahead here. Uhura has, you see a scene with Uhura waking up.
Yeah.
And she she slides her little privacy compartment, and it
and witnesses two people getting a wicked sunburn from a really powerful holodeck.
Doctors Without Borders, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's two guys and they're generating this. What was that?
It looked like a replication of a sun. I'm sure it wasn't plasma, because I'm sure there's safeguards that would prevent you from doing that in the cabin of a starship. But it was radiating heat, and they're down to their Starfleet skivvies.
Yeah, looked like a futuristic lava lamp. Yeah, really big one.
But she's like turned out. So it's like having the two worst roommates. Like you're trying to sleep, and they're playing like Madden at full volume in the next room.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, "What did you do?" They flip out. And those guys get sent to the sick bay, and there's a reason why she's not affected, as we find out later.
Yeah, but they examine her as well and realize she doesn't have the illness. You see, they're realizing now at this point that it's spreading.
Yeah.
So, of course, since the three of them all share a suite, they assume that she probably has it too, but she doesn't.
And then her and number one go back to her quarters, and she's like, "All right, what? Show me what you're doing." Said, "Well, I was asleep." So, and she's like, "Well, I have the screen pulled back." I said, "RBG light on steroids, exactly."
Yes.
So, she's like, "Well, I need like total darkness to sleep."
Right.
I'm kind of like the person of the P, and she just like closed the door as she's saying that, and then she realizes because she was in darkness, she was not infected, or it provided her with some sort of relief.
So is this where I'm trying to remember? Is this where M'Benga comes up with the theory that, like a sneeze, is the vehicle that transmits the common cold? That light is what transmits this illness. Is that where he comes up with
I think it's right around there, because they scan and they show that people who are infected have a higher rate of they're not glowing per se, but I guess it's not a visible light.
That was the part that got me a little verklempt, that they say.
A non-lethal type of radiation, let's call it. So it's
well, what was your issue, Craig? I want to.
A light doesn't quite work that way. I mean, it was. I understand if it was transmitted by light, but it was like, oh, we have extra photons kind of floating around us. It's like, well,
right.
I think
not really.
That was more of a symptom. That's how it was transmitted, but that was a symptom of infected people. Light increases its energy. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
So they're all like, well, what are we going to do?
Right.
And they're like, well, we should probably sedate. She's like, is it ethical to sedate everybody? And they're like, given the circumstances, yes, because otherwise they're going to start flipping out.
Well, yeah, because they decided to turn off the lights.
Yeah.
And as a safety precaution.
Yeah.
Everything goes into lockdown. Well, I think they've already done that.
Yeah, they've been in lockdown.
That if it's traveling through light, they should turn off the lights. And of course, I think it's Chappell who says, well, isn't that going to, freak everybody out?
Yeah, so then they decide to sedate everybody.
It's sick and that needs this light, and they decide to sedate them all.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, back on the planet, Kirk and Spock the storm is getting closer.
Kirk
and Spock, God damn it.
I did it too. Now I'm feeling bad.
It's the cave. Kirk.
Pike and Spock.
Pike and Spock.
Yeah.
They're still down on the planet, and the storm is getting worse. And they look out the window and they see these like sort of like plasma figure ghosts flying around, and Pike is like,
ghosts of Illyria.
Exactly. Pike is like, tell me you saw that too. He says, I did, although I do not know what it is. Shocking fashion. Yeah. So they know things are about to get a lot worse down planet side. So as they're back on the ship, they're like, all right, she's number one goes back to the ready room, and she's investigating Illyrian medical treatments or programs. The computer says, well, that is classified. She's like, override. She's overriding all the security measures.
Right.
And she sees a young girl who is glowing, much like she had.
Mm-hmm.
And then she gets a message that something's going wrong. Oh, we've skipped a vital part before this happened.
Oh, okay.
Is that Hammer comes into sickbay earlier.
Right. That was in my notes too.
And he's like, and she's number one's like, do you have anything? He says, yes, that's because he says, I'm just doing all these diagnostics in the middle of the night for fun. and he's going and he's mucking around with the emergency sickbay transporter.
Right.
And Mabenga goes over. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Listen, I have to test everything. Whether there's a problem." And he's like, "Listen, I have data on there. You can't." And he's arguing, and he turns off the lights, and of course everybody flips out. And Mabenga really just gives him the business, and he's like, "Fine." And he just walks. He closes up. And walks away. And then Mabenga turns the lights back on, and so on. So there's something going on with the medical transporter that we didn't know before, and it's a vital part of this story.
Hang on, I'm sorry, I got to do this.
Yeah. Yes, it does look as though you are floating in the inky blackness of space.
Yeah. Barbara,
I am.
Says, "Talk of light, can we get a little light on Greg Lubin?"
That's what happens when you do it from inside the shuttlecraft and the sun goes down.
Yes,
exactly.
Do you have any light in there, Craig?
No, this is the best this damn thing can do, and I'd have to get up and go into the house, which is
there isn't like a little light in the.
It is. It's on. It's not very bright.
They don't have like a makeup light on the thing you flip down.
Vanity mirror.
Nope. No.
Okay. Well, next time bring a flashlight so you can put on your phone. So
yeah, I do like this.
All right. Yeah. Well, we can still see your face, although not nearly as well as we'd like.
Exactly.
So back to the story. So she's looking up. Number one is looking up stuff, and so she sees a young girl who seems to be suffering, much like she glowed, and she do then she gets a message that something's going wrong in the transporter room, and she tries to signal it. Nobody responds. She goes down there, and we find Hemmer, our favorite engineer, who is, much to Craig's consternation, has beamed up a small portion of the molten interior of the planet below, containing what I can only assume is a magnetic field of some kind. Right. And she's like, "Is that from the planet's core?" He says, "Actually, it's the mantle," as if that's as if that makes it better.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I just want to feel the warmth on it." She's like, "That's like 1,000 degrees. It would burn you to a crisp." He's like, "More like 10,000." And so he finally gets it like stable, and he starts walking towards it, and she grabs a phaser, which I guess the hot stone massage from hell. Yeah.
I love that.
That would be it would be very, very caliente.
Yeah.
So she pulls a phaser, which somebody, I presume Hemmer, left on the console on his belt, or some other lazy crew member who just didn't feel like putting their equipment away. And she stuns him, not saves him, shuts it all down, then picks him up like the way you might pick up your small child,
right?
Throws him over her shoulder, and just walks out the way you might, like as if he weighed nothing. So you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
With number one, she is clearly there's
suddenly she's She-Hulk.
Yeah, she's She-Hulk. She brings him down to sick bay, throws him down. They said, "Well, you got to sedate him because he'll go crazy." And she's talking with Mabenga, who reveals that he's now been infected. And
Chapel too, I think, right?
She's like, Chapel. They're like, and at this point, I believe is when she reveals that she is an Illyrian, in fact.
Right.
And she's like, "I was able to. Can't you make antibodies from my blood?" He says, "Well, the problem is because your body identifies and destroys it, and then gets rid of it. There's nothing left to make antibodies from."
Right.
He says, like, "Please sedate me." And meanwhile, Chapel, who's out in the sick bay, is doing something, and Laan sits up, super creepy style, like that way from a flat here to like rip, and a horror movie style thing, and then
the Ring or
Chapel go like, "Huh, did I just hear something?" And then she.
That was very much a zombie move.
It was a super zombie or vampire move. It was
undead.
Undead, definitely an undead
rising from the tomb.
And she goes out there and sees that the Chapel's been knocked out, and there's an alert that somebody's trying to remove the.
Warp core containment.
Yeah, they're trying to take down the warp core containment.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it! So she runs down to engineering. Meanwhile, back on the planet, Kirk, God damn it,
Pike.
We're old.
We're old. Pike and Spock, they've managed to barricade the door, and they're here like boom, boom, boom. Another horror movie. This whole thing has kind of a horror movie vibe to it.
Yeah.
And they've barricaded it, and Pike has his phaser out, and he's like, he says, "I hope that thing has a stun thing," because Spock still has the scroll. He says, "I will arm us with knowledge."
I love that line. I'm glad
the best line in the episode.
I love that line.
Then the air pressure changes. The window in the back of the room crashes in, and that's not good news for them. The door bursts down. Pike tries to shoot at these energy beings. Phaser gets knocked out of his hand, and Spock throws him down on the ground. And then they're surrounded by these energy beings who don't touch them, but like sort of hover around like very quickly and seemingly protect them from the ion.
They basically shield them from the storm.
And which is a wonderful twist to this thing, because everybody, like, it's understandable to be afraid of the beings made totally of plasma or fire or some other dangerous flaming bit of energy.
Yeah.
But it was a nice twist that they were like, no, they're protecting them.
Right.
So back on the ship, go down to engineering, and Leon is trying to remove the containment field for the warp engine or the warp core. And she's like, you know what's going to happen. She's, yes, but it'll be so warm, it'll be bright, and they have a big fight, very much like the fight Kirk and Khan had in Space Seed.
Yeah.
The only difference is the augment, Una, was not really I guess she is an augment by definition. Is wearing the gold command tunic, and Leon is wearing the red, and they have a dust up there. And Leon throws a lot of shade at her friend. He's like, "But you're a monster," and she's having this sort of like flashback to her childhood, and eventually, she's able to knock her out, but not before like this big burst of radiation, and we see number one glow again.
Right.
Okay. I know. Listen, the science. This is not a documentary, Craig. So
it's radiation. It's not magic.
Yeah.
Don't just glow. Well, you glow, but it's more permanently. Then the cancer comes.
Well,
leave it that.
But Craig, her body is burning off the infection.
Yeah, it's adapting to the high radiation.
Yeah,
it goes the other way around. It burned her, but
not on this show.
We have another nipple alert, apparently. I didn't notice that, but thank you, Angela. That's good.
Thank you, Angela. I will.
Maybe this should be a regular bit, in Trek Tonight when the tunics do that. We can.
It's not just women.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, we'll have a little graphic for that.
Yeah. So, then it's back on the planet. The storm has passed, and Pike, got it right this time. Pike and Spock are like trying to signal the ship, and they say, "Well, we should go up top because we'll get a better signal." And they're discussing the idea that, Pike says, "Well, why didn't these creatures try to save the colonists?" Spock says, "Well, I have two theories. One, they had an interest in not saving the colonists.
Right.
And the second one, which I believe is the correct one, is that they are the colonists."
Yeah, that was a cool twist.
Which is a wonderful twist.
Yeah, I like it.
The monster is Hero. And as they're walking in, another one of those digital scrolls goes out. And the idea that they wanted so much to be the part of the Federation that they were going to change themselves. And also, when the storm hit, and there was this disease which hit the planet separately of this, a number of them ran into the storm because they were attracted to the lightning, the light, and somehow become transformed into those energy beings.
Right.
And they go up top, and Pike says, it's ironic that their goodwill gesture of removing their augmentation is what killed them.
What killed them? Yeah.
Yeah, and they're able to beam up. So then we see Mabenga be woken up, and he's like, well, he's concerned because he's because of everything that happened up till then.
Right.
They explain that because, and I know Craig, try to contain your problem with the science of this or lack thereof, because Laan was next to number one when she it was called a chimera antibody effect, I believe. So basically, because she was in proximity, her antibodies were able to help Leon and fight off the disease. And because
I will merely quote Flobo Boyce and say a wizard did it.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Let's not worry. Listen, none of this stuff works. We all love this stuff, and none of it works. Transporters are murder machines. Warp drive might work, but good chance that it won't work like that.
But it's fun.
Let's just enjoy it.
It's fun.
It's
I do have some general and we actually only have 8 minutes left.
Okay, so anyway,
we decided to run over. So
they basically announced that they got a cure because Leanne's antibodies did disappear because she's not an Illyrian. So she's like, then she goes to speak to Leanne, and they sort of bury the head. You can see Leanne is like annoyed because she faced all this prejudice being the descendant of an augment. And she was an augment, she kept it a secret. And she's like, well, that's not who we are, like either one of us, And she explains how the Illyrians weren't about domination, they were about adapting. So instead of going to a planet trying to terraform it so they could live on it, they would adapt themselves so they could live on the planet, which is actually a very Federation idea. And so let's wrap up quick. So then she goes to Pike, and she's basically like, listen, I'm an Illyrian, take up my badge, I'm resigning my commission immediately, I'll face whatever charges. I lied. And he's like, no, I'm not taking your resignation. Doesn't work like that. You're the best first officer in the fleet. She says, what about that? He says, listen, this whole experience has shown me there's more to Illyrians than was conceived. And I will go to bed. She says, what if they come? They'll come in. He says, don't worry about me. I look forward to that conversation.
Right.
So they have a wonderful moment where he gets to go to the bat for her. And then she goes to talk to Dr. Mabenga, who, because short version is his daughter has got some sort of, space leukemia or something like that. They give it a name. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
And he's been keeping her in a transporter buffer ever since. And he will occasionally rematerialize her and then put her back to stabilize her disease. So progress. And because he wouldn't let them upgrade it when they were in space dock, it caused the malfunction, which allowed the disease to be beamed in.
Right.
And he's basically saying, listen, I'll resign. If you'll just give me a little time with my daughter, that's all I ask. And she goes, no. And you see him breaking down. He says, we're going to put a dedicated power source for this, so this never happens again. And basically, like, I look forward to meeting your daughter in the future. And it's a wonderful moment because she was ready to throw her, like, I'll cop to lying and being illegal by Federation standards, Starfleet. And so she passes on her compassion, which is, again, a very Federation, and I love that.
Sure.
And
Angela makes the comment that Pike likes rule breakers.
He certainly does.
Oh, yes.
It's and I think we do too as an audience.
Right.
So
and remember that this pattern buffer trick was used by Scotty in Relics and Next Generation. Yep.
Why I can wear Scotty's tunic.
Yeah, there you go. And he very wisely. So then she does her own finishing log, and she talks about how sort of like proud she was that Pike accepted her, but she also wonders, like, what if I hadn't been a hero? What if I hadn't been, in her words, one of the good ones? Would it have turned out the same? And much like Sisko did in the episode "Devil in the Moonlight" or "Dancing in the Moonlight,"
right?
The one where he makes a whole entry log about this really sort of black ops thing he did with Garrick. He deletes her log at the end.
Right.
And then we close
the famous "It's a Fake" episode.
Yes. which is also an excellent episode of DS9. And we end with Mabenga like frosting his office doors, rematerializing his daughter and reading to her.
Right.
And it's a very sweet moment.
Yeah.
He gets to have these little moments with his daughter, which helps him keep him going. And, she, although when you're in the pattern buffer, no time passes really.
Right.
But it was a very sweet moment. And I thought a wonderful end to this episode.
Now, let me ask you guys a question. Before we get into, because I know you probably both each have in the last minutes we have some points you want to bring up, but Cliff Diamond, who was here last week, wrote to me earlier today because he said he wouldn't be able to watch the show live tonight, and he loved it, but he had a couple of points. And the biggest point that he brought up, which I thought was interesting from a series standpoint, did you guys feel that these reveals of Mabenga's and Una's came a little bit soon in the course of the season?
It's my only thing is it's two sort of secrets revealed in one episode.
Right.
But since his is neither one of them, it's not like either one of them is a traitor per se. It wasn't like in Discovery when Lorca is from the Mirror Universe and Tyler is a sleeper agent for the Klingons.
Yeah.
Which are both like, you only needed one of those, like, landmines to go off.
Oh, don't get me started. Yeah.
But, which is not to say I didn't like either of those plots, but I thought they sort of overlapped each other.
Right.
These overlap each other too, but I think in a way that was more positive because compassion is shown, we get to see compassion passed on, which I feel is I keep saying this, it's a very Star Trek message, a very Federation idea.
Yeah.
And even earlier in the episode, Una says, listen, I really like Starfleet. It's not right about everything.
Right.
Which is true because they're it seems a lot of admirals and commodores tend to go off the rails and do some stuff that we recall from the original series.
You mean outright crazy?
Yeah. A lot of flag rank officers tend to go a little nutso.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but enough to be.
We might want to study that a little bit, see what that's all about.
Yes, I wonder if we'll see any crazy commodores or admirals in this show. But it's, in a way, it is. But since both of them are Mabenga's obviously affected the plot, but it wasn't like he said. If I thought for a moment that I would have done it, because she's like, "What are you doing? Why are you keeping?" This is one person. What's so important? And he explains to his daughter is this, but he expresses like, if I thought that sacrificing my daughter would have saved the crew, I would have done it. Although I'm sure it would have broken him as a person.
Yes,
as it would any father, I imagine.
Right.
Not being a father, but I'm just taking a wild swing at the.
I didn't mind the number of reveals. I like Mabenga's a lot. I thought that was well done. I felt that a little on the retread side. So Una's storyline, I think we've seen that already with Dr. Bashir in Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
So I felt a little bit that, and then I made the joke earlier. I felt that the general premise of the show, the naked again joke, kind of was not that it bothered me, but I was like, okay, they're going with this. And I thought that was more okay. Well, I kind of seen this already. I see your take on it, but hopefully things will be more original in the future. Mm-hmm. But I felt that Una's storyline in particular reminds me a lot of Dr. Bashir and his entire storyline. Yeah. The fact that he was secretly, So that was that's more of the issue I had with that. I still like the episode.
Although his story is a little bit different because his parents were Federation citizens, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they brought him to like a non-Federation world to have the work done.
Right.
And whereas Una just came from a people
where they believed in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, that's true. But she also kept it from from Starfleet the same way. It was a secret. you know, I think, you know, like I said, I like I heard this on the earlier show I was looking earlier about. I agree with this point, was that was brought in towards the end of his arc, right? So I think it was like season 5 or 6 or something like that when they revealed it.
Yeah.
So in terms of being, is it too soon? You know, Chris's earlier question, you know, if you're going to follow that, then yeah, maybe it's a little too soon, but let's see where it goes, right?
Yeah, we will. We'll see if there is, like, if something happens, maybe in the season finale, if something happens is discovered. But I mean, also
it's that same old song that I said about Picard. If anybody here watched Picarder, John Weber's show that Leo and I were both on, you got these 10 episode seasons.
Yeah.
And you only got so much time to tell your story. So, you know, I see what Cliff was saying to me earlier today. But also too, and he said he loved the episode, by the way.
Yeah.
But you know, you only have so many episodes to make these reveals. So could it have been an episode 4 or 5? Maybe. But
that's a good point, Chris, because back then Deep Space Nine had 21 to 25 episodes per season back then.
Exactly.
And that's a relic of the past these days. So it's a good point.
But you know, they have to, and they may be leading up to something with her later on in the season. So better to plant the seed now.
No, I'm just picking. It didn't bother. I was just, like I said, it's a similarity. It was the execution of the show. What I like about this is that they really are trying to keep those elements of the old style of the show, but kind of bring in, you know, new Trek.
Right.
And I like that. I'm enjoying that.
And the minute that I saw because you know they published a while ago the titles for like the first 5 episodes. I think Spock Amok might be the last one that they pre-published.
Yes, the 5th episode. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But the title Ghosts of Illyria just is such a TOS title to me.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like, oh yeah, that's classic. You know, it just had that sound to it that took me back to Desilu.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the really long title, like, you know, for The World is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky. What could something like that?
All right, gents. We are 3 minutes over, but that's okay. Do you guys have any last points that you wanted to make about this particular episode? Anything left on your pads?
Security. For the love of God, lock down your stations. I know she's a security officer, but she walked right up there, turns off the antimatter containment. It's like, please, safeguards, people, safeguards, and circuit breakers, for the love of God. And I'm done.
Okay. Well, I don't have any other notes, but I do. Just to remind everybody, please follow us on Facebook at Trek Tonight, at Twitter at Trek Tonight.
Right.
See, there's a theme going. Subscribe and like us on YouTube, Trek Tonight. No big surprise there. And if you want to contact us directly with any questions, please email us because we will answer your letters on the air. If you can send us a good question, please email us at trektonight2022@gmail.com.
Exactly.
The only other thing I have to say, and I will post something about this on the page, is I found out this past weekend I'd submitted a play to the G60 60-second play festival, and it was accepted at the Leeds version. They're doing one in New York, one in Leeds, England, and there's going to be another one, I think, either in Georgia or Houston, because they had a lot of spillover because they just announced the New York ones today.
Right.
And I think they had a lot of good submissions, so they're going to do a whole other one. It's being done all over the world. These are 60-second plays. And it's if I will put up a link, I think you will be able to stream it live if you wish.
Cool.
My play is called One Thing at a Time, which is, I think I need to remind myself constantly that all I can do is one thing at a time.
That is very
that's good advice for everybody.
Right. And if I don't show this, my wife's going to be annoyed. Yes, you can contribute to our Patreon and join the crew. And it's Trek Tonight, just simply that. So just look us up on Patreon. Listen, if you like what you see and you want to give the show a boost, there are some costs associated with doing this program, which, you know, is fine because we love doing it.
Yeah.
But it's always great to have some help. join the crew, be part of the group. You will get extra content, membership in our Discord, and so many more things. We're gonna have pins.
We're gonna have like
merch.
Yeah, merch. But that merch will be sent to you as a member. So that's terrific. All right, gents. I think we should probably get rolling.
Sounds like a plan.
But we will see you all next week for what is the episode next week? Do you remember?
Don't remember. But the week after that is Spock and Muck. We're having
Spock and Muck is not this week, but next.
Right.
Right.
Joe Mulligan. Not Joe Mulligan. Joe Townsend.
Joe Townsend will be here for Spock and Muck. And who is your friend that's joining us next week?
My old, not my old. She's not old. She's younger than all of us. My friend Diana Laura, who I met playing Dungeons and Dragons in Brooklyn. She is a video game. I'm not sure exactly what she's not a programmer, but she works in the video game industry.
Neat.
She will be joining us live next week, and I'm very excited because there's been a real excess of testosterone on this show, and I think we need to address that.
Yes,
she's a big Star Trek fan from way back.
Right.
So I'm very excited to have her. Diana, if you're watching, hello, and this is what it looks like. So anyway,
except for this lighting.
And Leo, you got some love here.
Yay, Leo!
Yeah, Angela says yay. Shana says yay.
Yay.
We're really happy for you, Leo. I think it's a great accomplishment. Next week's episode will be called Memento Mori.
Ooh.
Mori. And then we have Spock and Muck after that. So, and it's not, a gift from Maury Povich. Right? That's not
I think it's slightly differently.
Yeah, exactly. So
if it felt like Maury Povich, I would be like, okay, let's see what's going on.
Oh my! All right, guys. We love that you're watching the show, and we're happy to do this. And hopefully, give us some comments on the Facebook page. Let us know what you're thinking, and if there's anything else you want to see, because we will be more than happy to try to accommodate you. So, all right, gents. I have to get the outro here. Hang on one second. There it is. All right, guys. Live long. Great weekend, by the way. Good night, folks.
Good night.